Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Influential Entrepreneurs is sponsored by Marketing Huddle, where we build an authority positioning portfolio for advisors that sells for you so that you don't have to. This unique approach gives credibility and trust to easily attract and convert high net worth and loyal clients using podcast and TV interviews with guaranteed press coverage on top ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox News affiliates. Learn more at MikeSaunders360.com. Today we have with us financial professional Urban Adams to talk about some timely tax tips. Urban, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me and great to be with you today.
You're welcome. And I know you're not a tax preparer, but as a financial professional, you have some timely tax strategies that you relay to your clients so that they're better prepared for doing their taxes. So I want to dive into that. But first, let's go ahead and give a little bit of your story and background and how did you get into the industry?
Yeah, I got into the industry right before Y2K and was on the front lines then. Over the course of my time, I've worked in a variety of different roles and launched my advisory practice a little more than 12 years ago and have been working on that since. Work with a great group of clients, mostly in the southwestern U.S., but really work with clients all over with a planning focus.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Y2K because there were some misconceptions there, right? I mean, we thought the whole, technology world was going to just implode and lo and behold, nope, it didn't. And I'm certain that there's some other misperceptions in a lot of areas financially that people just are misinformed about. Do you take some of those approaches, like what we were saying about, at tax time? Hey, make sure that you're aware of the following. So how do you start that conversation with your clients?
Well, as it relates to the tax planning, which I'll convey that is not tax advice necessarily, but what we do is we take a large scale approach to the overall financial plan for a client, which if we're ignoring tax planning, we're missing out on a great deal of opportunity there. And it could be anything from those who are working and still accumulating assets and being tax efficient there, or tax efficient for the future. We have our clients who we are strategic about how we're distributing their assets when they get to retirement and making sure that we're doing that in a tax efficient manner. And as I'd mentioned not long ago, I'm working on right now what I call my tax letter summaries to be sent out to clients. And this is something I send in January every year. And what we do is it summarizes the tax documents they should expect from their custodian, some of the activities, whether they made contributions to a donor advised fund, they did a Roth conversion, they made 529 contributions. You name it, if it's captured in what work I'm doing for them, I provide them with this summary so that when they do go and meet with their tax preparer, their CPA, they're armed not only with the documents that arrived, but a summary that says, hey, here are the other things that may have not have resulted in a tax form, but things that are relevant to their tax return being prepared.
That's so huge because I think that we all get super busy in life, personally and professionally, and we just do things the way we've always done them. And that can carry over to how someone would do their taxes, whether they're doing it on their own or getting information to their tax preparer. And sometimes their tax preparer only works off of what info they were given. So when things fall through the cracks, then that is a negative occurrence for your client. So it's great that you're doing that. I'm curious, what are some of the things that tend to fall through the cracks that you're trying to bring to their attention? What are some of those, kind of obvious things as well as some of the ones that are a little bit deeper?
Well, one of the things that I'm hoping to avoid for them is that panicked call from their CPA's office and the CPA's asking them for this particular item or this particular document, and they're scrambling to find it. So I try to get ahead of that, especially for my clients who are very much in the front of the curve and will be meeting with their tax preparer early part of February and getting those tax returns done and saving time. Now, granted, I will get that occasional call and I might get a call for a clarification about something, but largely what I want to do is reduce their stress when it comes time to walk into the CPA's office with their documents. So those are the things that I want to create, is that, that comfort level, that peace of mind more than anything else. The form does, though, will help some of those things not fall through the cracks, like 529 contributions to an HSA. The 529 contributions may or may not be tax deductible in the state where certain clients live, but where it is, it's important. We don't want to leave out that deduction.
Yeah.
Same goes for the HSAs. Same goes with Roth contributions, deductible IRA contributions, or even the Roth conversions. So all of those, and I'm not capturing the full list. I've got clients who make charitable contributions in lieu of their RMD, for instance, and
Yeah.
that's something that the tax preparer needs to know. And any of those things that are missing that we need to go back, we certainly don't want clients completing amended returns. We want them, when their return gets submitted, it's a final return for sure.
So, couple things that you mentioned. Number one, is it becomes to mind that shouldn't a good CPA already be telling their client, make sure you do these things? I mean, it's nice that you do it, but shouldn't their CPA be doing that? Or have you seen over the years that they're just not doing it and you're having to come to the rescue?
I've seen it all ends of the spectrum there, and there are some that they are simply going to complete the tax return with the information that's provided. There's not really a great deal of advice or guidance on that end. I
Mhm.
also, and that's where I can hopefully fill that void to help with some of the planning topics, as long as I'm in the loop on the tax returns. Thus, the reason why I ask for those, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later. But
Yeah.
the other is where there is an introduction, where there is a conversation. I am happy to work with that tax preparer, that CPA, so that we are working in concert for the client.
Yeah.
And I encourage that whenever possible, so that we can be on the same page when it comes to the tax planning part.
Yeah, 100%. So you mentioned also something that caught my attention. Sometimes charitable contributions are made in lieu of RMDs. And I'm not an expert, you are, but when I hear that, would ask this question. I thought required minimum distributions must be taken, which then trigger taxes, so that then when you make a charitable contribution, then that offsets it. So is it more of an offset, or is it in lieu of? Like, you don't need to do an RMD if you made the charitable contribution.
Great question, and yeah, I probably used some wording that wasn't quite as clear. What clients can do when they've reached that age where they're taking their RMDs, if they are charitably inclined. One way
Yeah.
to help mitigate some of the tax impact of having to take the RMD is by making charitable distributions. And I've got
Yeah.
a client stands out in, to mind here, and makes charitable contributions to upwards of 24 organizations every year to fulfill a portion of their RMD. And
Yeah.
we send it out to the same charitable organizations virtually every year.
Yeah, you have to take the distributions out, which triggers taxes. But if you have that charitable contribution strategy in place, that could offset it, because you can't get around paying your taxes. But then, because we have charitable contribution, benefits in our tax code, when you contribute, that could offset that. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that question. I'm glad you clarified that. And you used another word that I love, is mitigate, because when you think about ways to become more tax efficient, it's not ways to completely eliminate your taxes. It's just ways to mitigate or lessen them, because we can't get around paying your taxes, but we can be as smart as possible and lower them wherever possible. And I think that's the big push. And if you can bring to people's mind, here's some opportunities that could be overlooked, let's make sure you don't. So I think that's a big point, right? Is to help mitigate taxes.
Absolutely. In fact, there's more than one client that comes to mind in this case, but particularly for clients who are retired, they're between their, maybe Social Security pension income that they've got. We've got a combination of uh, tax deferred IRA assets. We've got tax free Roth assets. We've probably got also non-qualified, non-retirement assets, say in an individual account, joint account, trust account. And what I do with clients each year is determine what sort of cash flow they need from their pool that's available to them. And then I come up with a strategy between the non-retirement assets, the tax deferred assets, and the tax free to distribute them in such a way that manages the tax impact for clients. So
Yeah.
maybe if we're bumping up against a particular tax bracket and we want to stay below that, we might utilize some of the Roth assets or we might use some of the non-qualified assets. So that way we can be strategic and also year to year or even within the year change those strategies to better fit the tax picture so that we're not really changing, they're getting the same money that they want annually, or monthly. It's just a matter of in what manner is it coming out of their accounts to be most tax efficient.
Yeah, and I think that when you are working with your clients and then maybe can look at their recently filed tax returns, there's certain areas that you will be looking for to be able to give some guidance on, right? So it might be some tax mitigation strategies. It might be, hey, you've got this pile of money here. We can put it to better use. What are some of those ways that you're looking for to give guidance?
Well, and I think the one that stands out, and I've mentioned a couple times thus far, is the Roth conversion strategy. So, in other words, particularly with clients who have, worked in, and particularly those who maybe worked before Roth and Roth IRA, Roth 401ks were a little more popular, and have done a great job of accumulating assets. However, they've accumulated a lot of tax deferred assets, and if they get to me in time or they're working with me long enough, we will have created a strategy to move some from that tax deferred to tax free over time where it makes sense. So Roth conversions aren't the the be all end all for everyone. However, in a lot of cases, it does, especially as clients are approaching retirement, maybe even starting retirement, but at the same time are years away from their required minimum distribution, which right now starts at 73. If we can get some of those non tax deferred assets over into tax free, give them an opportunity to grow longer, we can really, we can make a difference on what that after tax net dollars that are available
Mhm.
to them in retirement can be. So I think that's where the largest opportunity
Yeah.
stands.
And I want to zero in on the fact that you can't hear about this and go, "Oh, let's just do this real quick," because it takes some time in advance of the retirement age. Meaning, I know that if you've got money in one of those qualified accounts, that money's never been taxed. We know it needs to be taxed. Would it make sense to trigger a certain amount of that to be taxed now, since we know the tax rate, and then put it in the Roth, and so that it grows tax free? But you can't let it be in the Roth for 10 minutes because it won't have time to grow. So how long in advance of retirement do you recommend to make that potential conversion so that it has time to grow in the Roth to make it worthwhile?
I would say that we'd want that time period to be at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And there are some rules regarding the conversions and their eligibility for distribution once they've been converted. So
Mhm.
that strategy has to be taken into consideration as well. So hence the 5 year time frame that I referred to.
And I think that if someone were to Google or they've heard Roth conversion strategy, sounds all great. And it's not the end all be all for every single person every single time. So talk to someone that can look at your situation, see if it's right for you. I think that's strong. That's what the point that you're making. Also, I was thinking too that when you think about making tax, mitigation moves, are there more opportunities for entrepreneurs, people that are a business owner in the realm of what you're guiding them to do? Maybe are there some investment moves that might be available only to entrepreneurs versus, someone that works for a company?
Oh, sure. And granted, they're pretty pretty sizable salary deferral options with
Mhm.
401ks or any other type of employer sponsored retirement plan. But for my business owner clients, we'll utilize whether it be a SEP IRA if it's closely held, they might be the solo entrepreneur, or if it's a small business, we might implement a simple IRA or even a 401k plan for a small business. The savings opportunities for those business owners can be considerable between both their quote unquote, salary deferral as the employee of the company, as well as the matching contributions that the company can make wearing their business owner hat, so to speak. So you can have some pretty sizable, upwards of, $60,000 plus that you could make that could be tax deferred, that could help. You can also be more strategic as far as whether or not you elect to be an S corp, which again, tax advisor and consult with your financial advisor about making any moves like that. Uh, but there are a number of ways in which those business owners can further mitigate tax impact to their business, all within, in everything that I'm suggesting, of course, all well within the rules, just a matter of operating within the rules to take most advantage of your particular situation.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that people need to realize is you sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So when you're being made aware of some of these things, don't just go out and Google it and go, that sounds good. Click, let me set this up, whatever that might be, because it might not be right for you, or it might be right for you and needs to be set up and structured in a proper way. And I think too many times we all as humans tend to go, sounds good, give me this, let's go into the next thing. And you need to really take the big picture. So talk a little bit as we wrap up here on making sure that the ideas you hear are properly research vetted and you're working with the right person to help you make that decision.
Yeah, I think the way that I describe that is, when I look at what I do for clients, I think the impression for many and many years it may have been well deserved. Professionals in my role have been assumed that we're simply investment managers. We choose investments, we're looking for total return, and that's pretty much it. My practice has been a holistic planning throughout, which means, yes, investment management is a very important part of it, helps drive the growth of the assets that you're accumulating, helps make sure they're sustainable through retirement. However, we have to take into consideration much of what we talked about today, tax planning and making sure that we're being as tax efficient as we can. We want to make sure that we're managing risk through insurance, whether that's life insurance while we're accumulating or long-term care as we're aging, or things like estate planning. And estate planning is very important to make sure that we've got those appropriate documents in place. Making sure that we're making the appropriate decisions as it relates to Social Security filing for benefits and when to elect for pensions for those who are fortunate enough to have a pension as part of their employment. And all of those things together make for a comprehensive financial plan. And I didn't even mention healthcare, which is another topic that we could talk separately about. The
Mhm.
idea is your financial plan is like building a house. I've used that analogy before. And to ignore any one of those components would be like building that house and not putting a roof on it. So the
Or having
idea is
a unstable foundation.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's that would be, yes, you could excel in any one of those components, but if you're not giving attention to the others and making it a coordinated plan, yes, it could make for a very shaky foundation.
Yeah, that's huge, and it kind of is similar to like the domino effect. If you make one bad decision, it can just have this far-reaching effect on other areas, all the areas you've just mentioned. So, you might think that, oh, well, that's just this area, but then that affects how this it impacts you. Maybe the Social Security claiming you made one decision, but you didn't really research it with the right advisors. And oops, I should have done it a different way. And now that affects your taxes. That affects your monthly cash flow. That affects whatever the case is. So I think that's really huge to sit down with someone and say, give me a 360-degree view. It sounds like you sit down with clients and go, oh, you already have a CPA? Good. Let's bring them on board and make sure that we're all on the same page. So that's wonderful, because if they've got their trusted advisor that already advises them on their estate plan or their taxes, good. You can work with them on that. So I think that is so important, Urban. It's been really great chatting with you about your approach to serving your clients. And if someone is interested in learning more about what you do and reaching out and connecting with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, one way would be just to visit my website, which is very simple. It's just urbanadams.com. And they can request a meeting there. They can reach out. They can sign up for my newsletter if they want and get a twice monthly email on personal finance topics. They're welcome to reach out to me. My number, I'm based in Arizona. My number, 480-721-3344. Reach out and schedule a conversation with me. And also, those two ways are probably the best. And I'm responsive. I work with a fairly modest amount of clients, but I am I'm open to those who are open to comprehensive planning conversations and relationships. And if they are, and we feel like we're a good fit, I'm the other one on the other end of the phone. No 800 numbers to navigate.
Right. Awesome, Urban. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks again, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.